The morning show is back this week with episode 3 of the show, which was titled White Noise, and it was the perfect name for an episode which contained the subject matter of systematic racism at UBA. With Corey throwing Sybil under the bus with the intention of making the deal push through quicker with Paul, we saw, in doing so, he may have just thrown himself underneath as well. What's in store for the future of UBA, Corey, and the morning show? Well, I thought I'd recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from this episode. Here is the morning show season 3 episode 3, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. This episode picked up 2 weeks after the hacking scandal took place, and it was very much focused on racism in the workplace and the inequality that was present when it came to the people of colour that worked at UBA. Corey still wanted the sale of UBA to go through with Paul. However, due to pushback from Sybil in the previous episode, he took matters into his own hands. This led him to deliberately leak an email that was from Sybil and frame it as though it was done from the hacker. This was about Chris during her hiring process, which had a racial remark inside of it, something which ultimately put all eyes on Sybil and UBA and sparked a wider conversation to take place at the company. The episode being called White Noise was the perfect title for this, because white noise is essentially a noise that's just constantly going on in the background, and the racism that was present at UBA was something that was too, so it was very symbolic. Whether that be the racist remarks that were taking place or the large gap that was present when it came to the wages of individuals doing the exact same job, but the only difference being their skin colour. This was UBA's White Noise. Mia opened up the episode by turning off the white noise machine. It was rather symbolic of the fact that she was tired of being the cog in the wheel that was just sitting there and putting up with the treatment, whilst also noticing her own part in allowing this treatment to happen, because she'd never spoken up about it before. So I liked the fact that we saw her turning off the machine and also offering Layla a promotion that was deserved in the same episode, showing that she wasn't going to just sit there in silence anymore. When UBA was referred to as a plantation with dental care, that was a line that felt so powerful to listen to, and it really expressed the feeling of the mistreatment that Mia, Chris, and other people of colour had been through whilst working there. As we embarked onto the ending of the episode, we saw that Sybil went onto the morning show to be interviewed by Chris about her comments that she made in the email that was leaked. And during that process, it felt like the beginning of the interview was going as good as one could possibly hope it would in that situation, even with her trying to throw Corey under the bus by questioning his leadership abilities as CEO. However, Sybil wasn't able to keep her cool, and she ended up expressing her true thoughts, which was that she cared more about the fact that she was being branded as a racist over one comment rather than looking to change the environment that her family had built up over 80 years, ultimately resulting in Sybil crashing and burning in the interview and being aware of it. This ultimately meant that the board came together for a vote of no confidence against her, and she lost her position in the board. With Corey stood there by the window looking in with his smile that expressed zero emotion at all, something that I'm still amazed how Billy does so well. He knew that he was in the position that he wanted to be in, and that he was one step closer to getting the acquisition to go through. However, right at the end of the episode, with Corey on cloud 9, we saw that as he approached Paul in Soho with the intention of working on getting the deal pushed through, now that the board were in agreement and the main barrier, which was Sybil, was out of the way, we saw that Paul no longer wanted anything to do with the acquisition of UBA. He went from viewing it as a network with legacy and one that had trust behind it, to one which was now tainted with recent scandal, inappropriate treatment of colleagues, and a discrepancy in the way that people were treated and rewarded financially. Something which Paul didn't want his brand to be associated with at all, and a project that he didn't want to take on. So that has shaken things up a lot and ultimately meant that what Corey did with the intentions of reeling Paul in, it actually had the opposite effect and left him right back at square one and now in a worse off position, showing that the leaking of the email didn't have the effect that he wanted it to, meaning he was walking off into the night alone. This most definitely leaves Corey in a vulnerable position, as it seems as though Leonard could be at the top of the board, and he may be a much tougher battle than Sybil ever was, but I guess we'll see with time. I still feel like there's more to come with Paul, especially considering that we had the reveal that Stella worked with him many years ago, with us also hearing that he was described as ruthless. I think he could look to acquire the network, but instead get it at a much cheaper price. With Stella knowing that Corey leaked the email and it seeming as though she's not his biggest fan, I do wonder if that's hinting towards something in the future. Maybe her taking up the position of CEO if Paul were to acquire the company. She's a woman of power, and we know that she has history with Paul. So could this season ultimately focus on the demise of Corey? The first step was made by him being denied the buyout of the company, so it will be interesting to see if it does. Alex seems to be staying out of everybody's business in this season of the show. She's not wanting to get too involved in any of the drama that's going on with anybody, so it does make me wonder which direction her story is going to go in this season of the show. We also know that Bradley still has that video that's out there that has the potential of being shared. There wasn't any mention of it in this week's episode, which I thought there might have been considering that it had been 2 weeks since the attack occurred, so I do also wonder if there's more to come in that arm of the story too. Overall review. I thought this episode was a good one. It did feel a lot like season 1 of the show in terms of the topics that were handled and the way that it ultimately played out, so I do kind of hope that it doesn't feel like the show is going to be going in a circle this season and looping back on how it was in season 1, because it would ultimately feel like no development would have been made. I thought Nicole did a great job at playing Chris and handling the weight of the story in this episode. One of my favourite scenes was when she was in the elevator after meeting with Corey, and we saw the claustrophobic shot where it really showed us that she was struggling inside of her mind to make sense of all that had just happened, and the insult that had been thrown her way. I feel we almost saw the fear that was present about not knowing what people truly thought, and if they felt a certain way towards her. The two-faced nature that could be present in the people that she spends a lot of her time with. It was an intimate shot, but it was one which was so powerful and spoke 1,000 words. Even the other moments that we had with her, such as when she was in bed and struggling to sleep, lying on the floor and thinking, staring at herself in the mirror, and then also meeting Mia and Stella out at the bar. She did a flawless job in this episode and I was very impressed. It's good to see the show back on our screens and I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go from here. With the next episode being titled The Green Light and it having a photo of Paul and Alex together at a party, it most definitely seems like Paul is not out of the picture. So he will be returning even after not wanting to buy the company anymore. We're also going to be seeing both Alex and Bradley revisiting a problematic relationship from the past, so it's going to be interesting to see who that's going to be and if it will have a large impact on them. So, there you have it, The Morning Show Season 3 Episode 3 Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, theories and predictions and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of this episode? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.